Black American members of the National Academy of Medicine,
the premier health science organization in our nation.
We are scientists,
physicians,
healthcare professionals,
and public health experts.
We are also sisters,
mothers, wives, and daughters.
We are brothers,
fathers, husbands, and sons.
We are your neighbor. The person in line at the grocery store checkout. The person sitting next to you in church. We are members of the Black community.
Many of us have fought our way into healthcare professions specifically to care for our community.
Many of us have devoted our careers to exposing racism in healthcare.
All of us have focused our careers on improving health for all.
That is why we support the COVID-19 vaccine, and we encourage you to get vaccinated.
Trust in government does not come easily for our community. Too often our health has been ignored and even abused.
It is not surprising that polls show that many Black Americans are hesitant to get vaccinated.
We understand why.
But COVID-19 is very serious.
And it has a devastating impact on our community.
We have come through so much over the years.
Now we are facing another life-threatening challenge.
We must do what we have always done.
We must choose to do what is necessary for our community's survival.
As health professionals, we understand the science.
As members of the Black community, we understand your distrust.
We have reviewed the research.
Some of us have participated in developing the vaccines, designing the studies, and monitoring the results.
And we are confident the research was done correctly.
Many of us have already received the vaccine.
The rest of us will get it when our turn comes.
We encourage you to claim your place in line to get vaccinated.
Do it for yourselves.
Do it for your loved ones.
Do it for our community.
Do it because we should not tolerate one more preventable death.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor. Updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. Brought to you by SCDHEC. Visit scdhec.gov for testing and vaccination sites. SCDHEC. Healthy people, healthy communities. In it together, SC and the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council presenting Wellness Wednesday every week on Coping with COVID. The City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Agape Counseling and Training Services. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, visit Agape Counseling and Training Services at agapects.com. The Comet Bus System, offering free rides to get your COVID vaccine. Don't miss your shot. Visit catchthecomet.gov. Javis Financial Services, with over 20 years of experience. Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall. Honest, professional, reliable computer sales and service. Palmetto Media Connections, connecting media and communities together. Coping with COVID from SCDHEC. In it together, SC, the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Agape Counseling and Training Services, the Comet Bus System, Javis Financial Services, Computers Unique, and Palmetto Media Connections.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.
Happy Thursday to you. I'm Tre Tailor, and you are watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. Today, City of Columbia City Councilwoman Tameika Issac Devine joins us. She's running for mayor for the City of Columbia. And today, your chance to hear from her, her plans for the city, her views on COVID and how the funds are being used, and of course, your questions. This is a Devine Listening Session coming up next on Coping with COVID. Tameika, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you so much, Tre, for having me. Always a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Look forward to talking to her soon. That's coming up next on Coping with COVID. But first, your COVID community updates. Former VP Mike Pence is in South Carolina today. He's scheduled to be in the upstate participating in a roundtable discussion about the partnership between the public and private healthcare to battle a pandemic and also the state's vaccine plan. Governor McMaster says it's time for students to unmask in schools.
I think, again, it is a height of ridiculosity for a school district to make that decision for the parents, particularly since we've known even when the virus was rampant that the schools, the classrooms were the safest places of all. So now that the teachers have all had an opportunity and the staff to get vaccinated, now that we have so many people that have developed immunity, I think it is ridiculous for a school district to be requiring children to wear the masks unless the parents of those children want them to wear a mask. It's the parents' choice. It is no longer the school district's choice.
McMaster says he also thinks the mask ordinance in every South Carolina city should be dropped, but that individual businesses can make their own choice. Finally, the comment has been added to the list of locations offering the COVID vaccine. Health Force is partnering with the bus system to provide free vaccinations. They can choose either from the J&J or Moderna at the transit hub located at the corner of Laurel and Sumter Streets. Now, people can stop by Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday from 8 a.m. until noon, 2 to 6 p.m., and 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. on Sunday. You can see the information on the screen. No appointment is needed, but you can make a reservation by calling the number on the screen or visiting the website. Hey, don't forget that you can find out all of your COVID-related updates, vaccination, testings, funding opportunities. All of that information will be scrolling at the bottom of the screen throughout the show. I'm Tre Tailor, and as I said, you're watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. The Tailor-made production page is the home of Coping with COVID. Please go over there, hit like, follow, and share. Not only you will be able to check out Coping with COVID every day. We are on the air, which is Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 2 p.m. and then first Mondays with comedian George Wallace. You can also get all of your COVID-related updates. So many great resources there. We are also streaming live on YouTube. I want to thank everyone who is joining us on YouTube. Please hit the subscribe button. We also have a presence on Instagram and also on IG is Instagram and Twitter. Well, the first African-American female to be named the Columbia City Council is running for mayor. Tameika Issac Devine launched her campaign, and today we are hosting a Devine Listening Session. Now, this is a great opportunity for you to ask questions, hear her opinions on several topics affecting our city and her plans for Columbia.
Columbia is a great place, and we have done a lot in the last few years as far as law enforcement. But law enforcement can't do everything, nor should it do everything. We have to really expand upon the tools, technology, and community policing, investing in our communities so that law enforcement is a partner with our communities. Being a Columbia native, I've seen the way this city has grown. It's grown to the point that sometimes not everybody's been a part of that growth. I want to make sure that communities, specifically communities of color, make sure that they are part of Columbia's present and its future. I want to have a climate plan for this city that not only helps us be sustainable, but also helps provide opportunities for folks in the workforce. There are so many opportunities to take advantage of technology, green energy. I want to be the advocate for growing our city and being on the forefront, not just looking at what other cities are doing and following them, but being the leader.
If you don't have the right leadership, you're going to miss a lot of opportunities.
I think having a woman as mayor of the city of Columbia is long overdue.
I'm Tameika Issac Devine, and I'm running for mayor of the city of Columbia.
She's running for mayor, and she's here with us today. Tameika Issac Devine, thank you, darling, so much for joining us today. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Tre. I always appreciate you and the way you give so much great information, valuable information for our citizens.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Listen, I want to ask you because, and we didn't talk about this beforehand. The governor made the comment, and I just want to share that Dr. Nicole Edwards just said, and I'm just reading, she's what is she crazy? Immunity doesn't mean it can't be spread, she says. And just because teachers have the opportunity to get vaccinated doesn't mean that they all did. And she also says, and schools were not the safest place. There were plenty of cases and spread. The safest place was staying at home or wearing your mask if you're going to be out of your home at all. Do you have any comment on the governor's comment? Because he does want all cities, all municipalities in South Carolina, including the city of Columbia, to unmask, to drop the mask ordinance. What do you think about that?
Well, I think I'm still stuck on the use of the word ridiculosity.
Well, girl, I wasn't going to even mention that, but I don't even know that's the word, but whatever. I digress.
Yes. But, I heard that comment yesterday. I also saw, as Dr. Nicole mentioned, Dr. Deborah Greenhouse, who I follow on Twitter, is, one of our states. She testifies at the State House all the time. She put a lot of information out as well, because as I'm sure Dr. Nicole's reaction was, most of the medical professionals I know that heard that comment yesterday were mortified. They understand that there are people who don't want to wear masks. They do understand that now the CDC has even changed the guidelines for wearing masks now that more people are getting vaccinated.
Right.
But right now, only 30% of adults in South Carolina have been fully vaccinated. So we are a long way from being able to feel like it is safe to unmask and be in congregate settings like a school can be without masks. And right now, if you're 16 or younger, you're not eligible to be vaccinated.
Right.
None of my children are 16 yet. So none of my children are eligible. And I have a child who is in a face-to-face 5 days a week setting. I have one that's still home. And I think that it is irresponsible for the governor, a political official, to tell school professionals who are taking the advice of DHEC and other medical professionals about masks. This is all political. We've seen in the last few days, there are groups of parents who don't believe in masks, don't want masks, and have gone as far as gotten billboards to urge their school board members to take away the mask mandates. And I think that is unfortunate that you have people who are taking their own personal belief and position and trying to make it policy in a school setting. If our children need to be back in school, which they do, and we want them back in school, they need to be back in school in the safest setting possible. And that means in masks with the shields and everything else. I mean, you and I have little ones in a daycare.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that I've been very pleased with the way the daycare has reacted. And our little ones wear masks.
Yes, they do. Yeah.
And they, it's been a very safe environment. So what I would just say for the governor, from as far as the city goes, we are still currently under a mask ordinance. Our mask ordinance does expire at the middle of May. And if we do not renew it, which has not been decided whether or not we will or not, if we do not renew it, then it expires in May, and the city of Columbia will no longer have one. If we renew it, then we maintain the position that it is, if we want to get back to some kind of semblance of normal, if you are in an inside setting, then you need to have on a mask. CDC guidelines now say if you are fully vaccinated and you're going to be outside with other fully vaccinated people, you don't have to wear a mask. So our mask ordinance may change, but I think that we need to continue to stay the course. I have been doing a weekly show for over a year on COVID on a radio station, and at the very beginning of COVID, I used to come on Facebook and try to share information. We have got to be empowered by the facts, and we have to have our decisions that are influenced by data, not by anybody's political preference, about anybody's personal feeling. We have to be guided by the facts, and I think the facts dictate that we see the light at the end of the tunnel, but we're nowhere near the end of this tunnel. We are still living with COVID.
Yeah.
And in order for us to continue to keep our community safe, we have got to follow the guidelines.
Yeah, we're talking to Tameika Issac Devine, a City of Columbia mayoral candidate. I want to ask more about COVID, but I want to go back. What you mentioned that you're doing a weekly show on a local radio station about COVID. Tell us a little bit about that, Tameika.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm over a year now. It was at the beginning of March of 2020. Don Frierson asked me to come on the urban scene, and so you're very familiar with that station, and so I've done Don Frierson every single Wednesday at 12 for over a year to bring factual data. I mean, we started, of course, about initially, COVID, because we were all learning, and so I would use that platform as a way to share information with the listening public about COVID. And then as we started going into lockdowns and curfews and mask ordinances, I made sure they had the right data from the City of Columbia, and I stayed on there. As we've gone on over the year, I invited Vince Ford from Prism Health to join me. So now he joins me every week and we share information. And then Dr. Bell has joined us once or twice as well to share information. So this is just a platform, particularly in communities of color. We know that we were the hardest hit by COVID. A lot of times there was a lot of erroneous information floating within our community. And so for me, it was very important to meet people where they are. So in addition to this weekly show that I do on the urban scene every week with Don Frierson, I've tried to use my platform, my social media platforms to share information. I've also been out in the community, and I am actually helping promote a town hall that's happening next Wednesday at W.A. Perry. And we are focusing on particularly, like the commercial at the very beginning of the show, the vaccine and whether or not there may be hesitancy in the African American community, making sure that we have the right data and we're giving people the right data. And so it's a panel discussion between Dr. Bell, Reverend Johnny Raymond Noble from Second Nazareth, Vince Ford from Prisma Health, and Commissioner Jamie Devine from Richland School District 1. And so they'll be answering questions at this town hall. It's a virtual town hall. But my role in that, I'm not on the panel, I'm not doing anything, but I'm trying, again, this is a great opportunity for our community to get the right information. So I'm helping promote that town hall. And then after that town hall, we will actually have the mobile unit on May 22nd come to W.A. Perry to give the vaccine. So these are just ways I've tried to use my platform as a community leader to share the right information about COVID and also access to resources that people may need as they're dealing with COVID or even, coming out of COVID, and whether it's their businesses, whether it's their families, or it's, how do we lead in a more equitable way, learning the lessons that we've learned from COVID, because we have a lot of health disparities within our community as well.
Yeah, we're talking to mayoral candidate Tameika Issac Devine with the City of Columbia. Please send me that flyer for the event next week at W.A. Perry. We'd love to push it out here also on coping with COVID. Let's talk about the $25 million, Tameika, that Columbia received in COVID relief. How are those funds being utilized to help residents and businesses in Columbia?
Okay, yeah, definitely. So Tre, this the $25 million that actually is almost 26, it's like $25.9 million that we're receiving from the American Rescue Plan. So most people know that as the stimulus package that passed in January. That money is coming directly to the city. And I will say, I'm really proud of the role that I've played in helping secure that money for us, because as we know that under the previous administration, there was a stimulus package. It was a COVID relief package that passed last year. Some of us got stimulus checks, but there was money that came to the state, but there was not money that came to local governments. The City of Columbia, we were one of the first, we were one of the leaders in making sure that our community got direct resources. And so we went into our reserve so that we can make money available to small businesses and nonprofits, people who were hit by COVID. Richland County ended up doing something similar as well. And then we got federal dollars out of that first stimulus package that actually went directly to the state. And unfortunately, Tre, some of that money is still sitting at the state and has not made it into communities that it was intended to solve. And so we knew that would happen. And so even last year, as a board member at the National League of Cities, I worked with the board, and we advocated on a weekly basis for direct allocations to local governments, because we know where the needs are in our community, and we have the systems that can quickly get it out to the people who need it. Unfortunately, that package did not allow for that. And so with this new administration, we continued to lobby. We knew there would be another stimulus package. And so we were successful in getting a direct allocation to local governments of a certain size. And so the City of Columbia and Richland County actually received direct allocations under the American Rescue Plan. The city's direct allocation includes almost $26 million. Out of that money, we can do direct relief for COVID services, whether that is helping set up and partner with people to get vaccinations, COVID testing. It could be direct resources to small businesses and nonprofits who've been hit by COVID. And it can also go to helping support schools that are trying to adapt so that people can go, so that students can go to school safer. And then it also allows for recovery for any deficits or any lost revenue that the cities have. to include helping pay our first responders who were on the front lines throughout the pandemic. And so the city, our council, we met last week for our first discussion on how we plan to use this money. There have not been any votes and any definite decisions made, but the way we're leaning, COVID has hit all of us, including the government. People may know that we actually suspended turning off anybody's water during the pandemic because people were not able to pay their utility bill. Well, there's still a cost for water, and actually, a lot of people's water usage, of course, went up because people were home.
They were home, yeah.
And so that affects our budget. We have business license. There were businesses, unfortunately, that were closed or their revenue went down. And so that affects our budget as well. So right now it looks like, we will, of course, plug holes in our budget so that we can continue to provide services to our constituency. But there's probably about $6 million that we will be able to use as direct sources for our community. And so that's where there will be discussion right now. And so I know the mayor has put out a survey. I think you have until tomorrow to refer to go to that survey. Melissa Lindler at our Office of Business Opportunities has put out a survey. I think I saw her email came out today. So we're now surveying the community to see, how do you want to see your city use that $6 billion? And I will tell you that I definitely think that parts of it will go to small business, helping small businesses who are having to adjust to COVID. You will also have some of that money that will go to helping some of our nonprofits. I'm very passionate that we've got a lot of great grassroots nonprofits that are helping people who are harmed or hurting every day, whether it is through financial instability and having to pay light bills and water bills and their rent and other things, or whether it is folks who are facing eviction. We're working with NAACP and others on trying to help prevent evictions. So some of those are things that I see we spending that money on. But in addition, Trey, I'd say in addition to that almost $26 million, we have another $2.5 million that we're getting direct that goes to homelessness prevention services. So that will help people stay in their homes, whether it's rental assistance, mortgage assistance, that eviction prevention, and those kind of things. And then there's also going to be some additional monies that go directly to citizens. And so this is something I want to stress. I don't think there's been a lot of conversation about this, Trey, but it is really big, especially for our community. Another part that made it into this bill that is money that doesn't come through the city. So you don't have to look at the city and say, okay, Tameika, how am I going to get this money and help for? This will come directly to households. Most of us have gotten a stimulus check already, but there's also, starting July 1st, people with children will have an expanded child tax credit. I want to emphasize, and this again hasn't gotten a lot of publicity, but even if you do not make a regular income, you have got to file your taxes. The tax extension deadline has gone to May 15th. You've got to file your taxes. And if you file your taxes for 2020, whatever the tax credit you would have gotten for having children, and you usually wait till you get your tax refund, that will actually come in a monthly check to you starting July 1st. So someone like me that has 3 kids under the age of 18, that is going to be huge for my household. There are so many people who have small children. This will be for a child under 5, and you and I both have that. That's $3,600 that we'll receive from that. So those are just some of the parts of that. And like I said, there's an amount that the city gets, but for me, it was more important. It was important to have what the city could get, but it was also very important that we were meeting the needs of citizens and being able to play a role in lobbying for and sharing with our delegation and Congress what the needs of the community that I see every day are, and seeing those things actually make it into this bill and passing, and to see our community benefit from that is very rewarding, and I'm excited about.
We're talking to Tameika Issac Devine, City Councilwoman in Columbia, South Carolina. She's running for mayor. Evelyn Hay Primus says that she's happy to know that you're running. She said if she lived in Columbia, she would vote for you. Mitchell Peace Joy Jen says, hello, Councilwoman Devine. Thank you for your continued leadership, support, and service to the community. Thank you, ladies, so much for joining us. Evelyn wants to know what are the ways that they can show their support for you and your campaign for mayor. You want to answer that now, Tameika. We'll continue the conversation about COVID, but I wanted to get to Evelyn's question.
Sure. Thank you so much, Evelyn, for that question. I appreciate that. You certainly can follow us on all social media. It's Devine for Mayor on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can also go to our website, which is divineformayor.com. And if you go to that website, you can you see on the top right, you can donate. Tell you, we always need funds to keep this campaign going. I'm very proud and honored and humbled by the level of support that we've received so far. We actually finished our first quarter fundraising. Wow. We received over 650 individual donations, averaging about $150. And we raised over $115,000 in our first quarter, which based on my records is one of the records of a first quarter mayoral campaign. I'll have to tell you again, the diversity of our support. We had people of all ages, all races, all areas of the city who donated. And so you could donate to our campaign. And then also on the website, you can click on volunteer. And we have got various volunteer opportunities. Like I mentioned before, getting the information out about the town hall. Our campaign volunteers are going and canvassing the community so that people can know about the town hall. We also have, we're working right now with DHEC to set up some vaccination sites, and our volunteers will be doing that. In addition to that, we've got volunteers who are supporting some community events. Like today, there's one in the colony for the kids, and our volunteers will be going out and doing that. So there's lots of volunteer opportunities, whether you're here and can do it in person, or if you're not here but want to help. Like I said, you can, if you're not here, you can donate. You can also help us with some virtual phone banks. So there's lots of ways to get involved, but you can find out all that information at the website at divineformayor.com.
Awesome. We are looking at the website right now on the right of Tameika and myself. And so, as she said, you can go to divineformayor.com, and her social media is coming up on the screen. Tammy Goodwin-Jones says, hello, ladies. Hey there, Tammy. Thank you so much for joining us. Johanna Bridgette says she's excited you're running. She said she's comforted knowing a strong, experienced leader that looks like me is running. Thank you, Johanna, for your She also, Cynthia Watson says, great conversation, ladies. Impressive fundraising efforts, Councilwoman Devine. She says, congratulations. Johanna wants to know how teens can help. Is it the same thing? They can just go to the website, Tameika?
Yeah, they can actually go to the website, or if you want to get them to actually email me, I'm so excited about this, Trey. We so last we kind of put the word out for some young people. And this week we actually onboarded 10 college students who, college is out this week and next week. So we've got 10 college students who are interns with the campaign. And so we know that high school students, teens will start getting out next month. And so Lyric Swinton, one of my amazing team members, and a Gen Zer. I tell people I love these Gen Zers. They are like so amazing at changing the world. And we've got so many of them who are supporting our campaign. And so Lyric is going to be engaging teens. And so, Joanna, you could either go to the website and email me, or you can go have them fill out the volunteer and just note that they're a teen and want to intern, and Lyric can be in touch.
Awesome. Awesome. Evelyn says, she said she'll definitely donate. She said she never forget how you showed support to her business, Creative Expressions and Gifts. She said it was over 10 years ago. She says, I got you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. And I will tell you, Trey, and, I don't take this run for granted. I really do feel like Lord has prepared me. Everything I've done up to this point has prepared me for this run and this opportunity. But I don't take anything for granted. I do feel like I am the most experienced, most, in tune to the community to really take this job on. But I'm working very hard every single day. But I'll tell you, that's the confirmation when I hear people like Evelyn. I have had so many people reach out to me and give me stories. My service to this community has not been to be a stepping stone to anything else, or to say, it's about me. It's been about serving this community in a way that the Lord has prepared me to do. And as a council person, that has been the way I've led through service. And sometimes you don't always know how you impacted somebody's life. But since I've launched this campaign, I've had so many people reach out and say, you helped me in my business, or you supported me doing this, or you helped me, do this. And it's just been amazing. And again, confirmation that, the Lord works through people with their different talents. And my talent has been to be able to serve this community. And he has been able to use me as a vessel to bless people's lives. And I'm just looking at a way to do that in a bigger, bolder way as mayor.
Yeah. We're talking to Tameika Issac Devine. She's running for mayor for the city of Columbia. Please continue to post and share this information out so we can get the message to the masses. She's answering your questions, telling you about what she wants to focus on during this campaign. Hey, don't forget also that all of your COVID-related information is scrolling at the bottom of the screen. We're going to come right back and talk to Tameika more about what she wants to do, her campaign promises. Also, April is Fair Housing Month. We're going to talk to her about how she feels about that and the work she's doing in our community, and also why she talked a little bit about it just now, but why she even wants to be mayor, why she delved into politics, all of that and so much more coming up next on Coping with COVID. I'm Tre Tailor.
Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. It's brought to you by SCDHEC. Visit scdhec.gov for an updated list of testing and vaccination sites and info to help protect yourself, your family, and friends from the coronavirus. SCDHEC, healthy people, healthy communities. In it together, SC and the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council presenting Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday on Coping with COVID. The City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Visit columbiasc.net/OBO. Agape Counseling and Training Services. Call 803-779-2777 for licensed professionals of counselors and social workers helping families, engaged and married couples, and individuals of all ages gain an understanding of all aspects of their lives. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, visit Agape Counseling and Training Services at agapects.com. The Comet Bus System, a fast, fun, friendly transit system that can take you anywhere you want to go in the Midlands. So don't miss your shot. Catch the Comet and get a free ride to get your COVID vaccine. Visit catchthecomet.gov. Javis Tax Services, South Carolina's premier full-service financial provider with over 20 years of experience. Palmetto Media Connections, connecting media and communities together. And Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall. Call Daniel for honest, professional, reliable, and knowledgeable computer sales and service. Coping with COVID from SCDHEC. In it together, the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Agape Counseling and Training Services, the Comet Bus System, Palmetto Media Connections, Javis Financial Services, and Computers Unique.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.
The Comet gives me a reliable source of transportation.
It's very convenient to me, and they have wonderful drivers.
It's clean, and it builds community. It's fun to meet people.
It makes me feel like really independent. It's just fun.
It's always going to be there, and it gets me everywhere I need to go.
We try to ride every single day. Comet is our livelihood.
Visit Javis Tax Service today, 803-419-1001.
Computers, they're a part of our everyday lives, but when they're not working, they're an everyday problem. So call Computers Unique, your everyday solution. 803-351-5821. Is your computer running slow, won't turn on? Do you need a screen replaced? Or maybe you just need another computer? Well, Computers Unique is your one-stop shop for all your computer needs. They have a wide variety of new and pre-owned PCs, Macs, and tablets. So call Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall, 803-351-5821. 803-351-5821. You can eat what's good to you and good for you, too.
Yes.
Get the Dash for Southern Soul Cookbook free. All you have to do is ask. It's packed with delicious Southern-style recipes with a healthy twist.
Yummy.
You won't be able to taste the difference, but you will be able to feel the difference.
Yeah.
Inbox your email address to the In It Together or Tailor Made Productions Facebook page, and you'll get it straight to your mailbox. The Dash for Southern Style Cookbook and a Coping with COVID face mask. From In It Together SC, the Diabetes Advisory Council of South Carolina, and Coping with COVID.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.
COVID-19 has changed how we express our faith and gather to worship. We all want to get back to how we pray, how we congregate, how we lift our voices in praise. Now it's time to take the first step that lets us get back to spreading the word without spreading concern. Before we can safely come together, we need the facts. As COVID-19 vaccines become available, you may have questions.
Should I get it?
Is it safe?
Should I wait?
It's okay to have questions. Now get the facts. Learn more at getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision when vaccines are available to you.
I'm Tre Tailor, and you are watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. Hey, don't forget to post and share this information out so we can get the message to the masses, because this is an excellent opportunity for you to ask questions and hear from City of Columbia mayoral candidate Tameika Issac Devine. It's a Devine Listening Session, and the longtime city councilwoman and first African-American woman to hold the position is here today to discuss her goals for the city and to answer your questions. Tameika, so your website says that you promise to take on the hardest challenges and center efforts on pursuing racial, economic, and environmental justice. Also, we can see here some of the things you're focusing on: equitable community, economic and workforce development, growing the local economy, public safety, environmentally sound and sustainable community. Those are some of your goals and visions for the city. Tell us about how you plan to implement some of this.
Mm-hmm. Sure, certainly. And so one of the things I would say, Tre, is that when I say lead with equity and take on the hardest challenges, I really believe that. And what I tell people a lot is, if to see what someone is going to do, you also have to look at what they have done. Mm-hmm. And so I have served the city for a long time. And as a council member, I have led with public service at the center of everything that I do. And as a council person, though, I can only do so much. And as an at-large council person, it's kind of a unique situation, because I will tell you, although I have respect for now the gentleman, because I'm only female on our council, I have respect for the gentleman that I serve with. It's a delicate line as an at-large council person, because sometimes as you are working in particular districts, you have your 4 district council members, and sometimes they are a little, I say, friendly, territorial. And so, I feel like my role has been to support their efforts in their community, in their districts, leading in a way that supports them, but does not overshadow or overtake some of the things that they've done. And
Right.
so that's made it difficult sometimes to actually do some of the projects I've wanted to do. As mayor, you don't have that, because as mayor, you're looked to as being the leader, being the person who helps move things together. And so as an at-large council person, I think I've carved out a very unique role for myself. I have taken on citywide issues like the citywide wellness challenge and health issues, affordable housing, equity, and the recent conversations we had around equity and gentrification and how do we grow our city to be a more inclusive city. And so as mayor, having the ability to take everything that I've done and lead in that service-oriented way, but also be able to bring the different information and assets and resources to the table to move our city forward is what I would do. And so I tell people all the time, I am running for mayor to be an independent voice, championing all communities and promoting inclusive growth in our city. And so as I talk about creating an equitable community, we need to look at equity throughout our city. And when I say take on the toughest challenges, over the years, I've led through the toughest challenges. I was a member of city council when we came out of the recession of 08 and 09. And so I will tell you that we had some financial challenges like every single city prior to 2010 because of the recession. But because of the leadership that, I gave early on, making sure that I pushed forward for the city to do an efficiency study and look at how do we provide our services to our citizens in a more efficient and equitable way, we were able to go into 2010 with a budget surplus and really, have the foundation that led us into this last 10 years of prosperity. But I also led through the 2015 flood, stood next to Mayor Benjamin and my colleagues. And I will never forget the day after the flood, going up in a helicopter and looking at the damage in our city and our county through the flood. And we're still recovering from the flood, but when we look at the cities, the areas of our city that have recovered, there are still issues. I mean, we still have houses in some of our more communities of color that are still damaged from the flood. And so when I talk about lead with equity, how do we provide resources in an equitable way? Everything that the city does needs to lead through equity. And I think the thing that the last year has taught us, not just through COVID, but through the racial reckoning and everything else, is that, we live in no fault of some people of our own, but, we live in a country that has systems that have been built on systemic racism. Yeah. And so how do we confront those challenges, not in a way that's accusatory, that's divisive, but how do we confront those challenges and let us all work together towards a more equitable city, so that if we are thriving on Millwood and North Main and Greenview, we're also thriving in Shandon and Rosewood and Garners Ferry. And so I am running to promote that inclusive growth and make sure that the efforts that we've made and the great strides we've made in the Vista and on Main Street, we start seeing in other areas of the city, and that we have business owners of all races and creeds that are part of growing our city in the way that it needs to grow.
Mitchell Peace Joy, Jen, Tameika wants to know, where do you see the city of Columbia in the next 5 years?
Well, I will tell you, Mitchell, and most people who know me and follow me, I'm a very big, long range. I don't have just a 5-year plan. I mean, I certainly have things that I'd like to accomplish in my first term, which would be the first 4 years. But there's also the way I look at the city is I'm looking at where do I want to see the next 30 years. I know I won't be here in the next 30 years, as a city leader for the next 30 years. But I want to. But where we want to see the city in the next 30 years, and then backtrack from that and have benchmarks on, okay, if we want to see the city doing this in 2045, then where do we need to be in 2021, and what do we need to be doing to get there? So that's kind of how I look at things. I see our city growing, retaining our amazing talent, growing, having amazing small businesses, because we know we have a great entrepreneurial ecosystem here. How do we strengthen that? And so we build wealth within our communities through entrepreneurship. I see our city having, not just the University of South Carolina as the hallmark university, but we have, that everybody is looking at Benedict and Allen and saying, wow, City of Columbia has all the, and Columbia College, all these great higher learning institutions that anybody would be proud to go to any of them. I see our city growing and having, bustling commercial corridors. They have their own new neighborhood character, but for that area, and like I said, inclusive growth. We don't want necessarily the Vista in everywhere in the city, but we do want the prosperity that the Vista is experiencing in every other part of our city. And so that's kind of the way I see it. But what I would tell you, Mitchell, I would spend my first term working every day to have us have those conversations about how do we address our tax structure here in the city so that we are attractive to business and industry. How do we continue to build the ecosystem that support small businesses, especially small businesses of color, and have them thriving, and not just having customers here in Columbia in the Midlands, but that people are coming from all over and they're being able to ship their product if they have a product or service and provide their service other places. I look at us having, a very strong K through 12 education, and I think that starts with partnering with our districts, Richland 1 and Richland 2, and providing them the community support that they need in order to address the needs of our young people who are in the school system, so that they are producing the great talent that we need for these businesses. How are we more sustainable? Our current mayor, rightfully so, has a pledge. We've joined the other mayors in other cities that have the Ready for 100 to be 100% sustainable or have green energy by 2036. Well, I'm gonna tell you, 2036 is only 15 years away, and was it? Yeah, I did the math really quick. Yeah. And so what are we doing now to get us there? And then how can everybody be a part of that? When you talk about environmental justice and creating a green economy, what role do we play in that environmental economy, and how do we be part of those jobs and things? Affordable housing, like I talked about affordable housing, as we are looking at adding more affordable housing in our city, whether it's preserving or building new, how's that being done in an equitable way? I mean, we think about rehabbing some of our older affordable housing units. Well, and you talk about going green. How are you doing that? And how are you going to make sure that folks who might be living in a building that was built in 1970, how do they make their apartments energy efficient so that their light bill isn't sky high? So those are just kind of a couple of things. And I think all that comes from leading from a place of understanding equity throughout the city, but also providing what is necessary for every community to grow and strive, not competing against each other because we're all one city, but how do we make sure that the necessary resources are invested in our city in a way that's equitable to make all communities thrive?
Great. Thank you, Mitchell, for your question. Johanna Burgett says it's good to have a short and long-term goals. We're talking to Tameika Issac Devine. She is running for mayor of the city of Columbia, South Carolina, time city councilwoman. Tameika, April is Fair Housing Month, and like every place else in the United States, affordable housing is a big issue right here in Columbia too. Want to watch this first and then talk about your goals for the city as far as affordable housing is concerned.
Affordable housing is a crucial issue for this city.
The situation shined a light on the state of affordable housing.
I have to raise up Tameika Devine's work in the space of affordable housing and leading an amazing task force right now.
Councilmember and Columbia Affordable Housing Task Force Chair Tameika Issac Devine says addressing the lack of affordable housing in the community was a need.
I've just seen so many people who have been struggling with affordability of housing and being able to actually live in the city.
I had a young lady who was a substitute teacher for Richland 1, and so she lived in Sumter and was commuting every day. She reached out to me on Facebook and just said, I just got a job as a substitute teacher in Richland 1. I can't find a good place in the city of Columbia. And she talked about how important it was for her to be in the city and be able to live where she was teaching. I reached out to some nonprofits and found some affordable housing for her here in the city. And not only is she teaching in Richland 1, but she's also volunteering, tutoring kids after school. She sent me an email and said, thank you for helping me. I am now living here in the city of Columbia, and I want to help you become the next mayor. Cities that have leadership from the mayor's office are making progress on this very crucial issue. My solution for affordable housing starts first with recognizing that affordable housing is necessary for our city to grow. I will work with our nonprofits and private developers and make sure that we are preserving existing housing stock while building new quality affordable housing for people at all income levels.
So Tameika, we just heard Steve mention in that clip that you are leading a committee to kind of tackle affordable housing in South Carolina or in Columbia. Tell us about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So, affordable housing is something that I've been passionate for several years. And my husband actually runs a nonprofit that deals with affordable housing. So it's kind of like I live and breathe it as a city official, but also as a wife of a affordable housing advocate. And so we have been talking about this for many years. And we've made strides, but I will say our council in the past has focused a lot on home ownership, affordability and home ownership, which I think is necessary, but not everybody is ready to buy a house right now. And I think that we have to, again, recognize that affordable housing is affordable. It's attainable. I mean, whether or not it's attainable, and it depends on your income level. And so, I shared the story about the substitute teacher, and to me, it's ironic that we talk about through COVID, we talk about all of our first responders, our nurses and our nursing assistants, our teachers and our teaching assistants, and our firefighters and our policemen. A lot of these folks, the income levels that they have in these essential jobs don't allow them to currently live in the city that they're serving. And so, last year, I reached out to Mayor Benjamin and I said, hey, you have a lot of priorities, a lot of things going on. This is something I'm really passionate about. Can I take a leadership on this? And he said, yes, by all means. And so immediately, right before COVID, but it was like the last 2 weeks before COVID, I reached out to professionals that I know work in this industry day in and day out. Dr. Lala Anna Sauls at Homeless No More, Sue Berkowitz at South Carolina Appleseed Legal Justice, Brian Grady at South Carolina State Housing Finance Authority, Ivory Matthews at Columbia Housing Authority, a few citizens who actually live in affordable housing. So it's a very diverse task force. We brought together all these people, United Way, Mercy, who deals with people for mental health issues. We've got a formerly incarcerated person, because there are barriers that our returning brothers and sisters have in accessing housing. And so I wanted to bring together a diverse group of folks. So we have been meeting. I sent the email inviting them to be part of the task force right before COVID, then everything shut down. So it took us a couple months to get up and running. I think we had our first meeting maybe July or August, but now we have some interim recommendations we'll be bringing forward actually next month in May. But this task force, what I wanted to do is think about, first of all, how do we define affordable housing?
Right.
One of the things that I can tell you as a current council member, and I'm be real honest, I have even struggled with some of my colleagues on city council to advocate for affordable housing, because either they really want to promote home ownership and don't want to look at the rental, or they have neighborhoods who say, oh, we need affordable housing, but not in my community. And so it's been a struggle. And so people want to say, why haven't we made progress? Part of the lack of progress has been even the mindset of the folks who are policymakers. But the reality is, in order for us to be able to address that, we have to first define what affordable housing is for our community.
And who needs it? And who needs it?
And who needs it? Yeah. And so the committee, we've come up with a definition. We believe that either Richland County and City of Columbia will get behind. And once we have that definition, we're going to start having conversations within the community, so that when developers come and propose a project, that you have the community understanding it a little bit better, so that hopefully the community sees ourselves as a partner to provide more affordable housing than as somebody who says, we don't want that. Now, I'm not saying that we don't have affordable housing complexes that are not good, and our task force is actually looking at that as well. And what can the city, through regulatory processes or HUD or anybody else, hold these other landlords accountable for properties that are not being kept up and do not, are not an asset to the community. But we're doing that. We're also talking about, how do we finance it? Affordable housing is expensive to build. I mean, it costs just as much to build a market rate apartment building than it does affordable housing apartment building. The difference is, who's going to be able to live there. So how do we have complexes that can meet people at all income levels? Whether I'm a substitute teacher or, working at, a fast food restaurant, or, I am a, student just graduated and I'm in my first job, all of us need, income. We need a housing that is available to us at our income levels. So those are some of the things that we're tackling as the Affordable Housing Task Force. I'm really proud of the work and the expertise that is brought to the table in this task force. And I'm really hopeful, again, that with leadership that says this is important and we're going to move forward, that, the same creativity and emphasis we have put on incentivizing the development of student housing downtown, so that, there's housing available for students going to the university. We do the same thing throughout our entire city, not just in one area, but throughout our entire city to have availability for people who want to live here and, don't want to commute from Sumter.
Yeah, we only have 6 minutes, but I want to get to this last question from Mayoral Johnson, who you mentioned, Mercy. He's over there at Mercy. He wants to know, many automakers have made a pledge to go all electric by the end of the year and mid-30s. By the end of the early and mid-30s. What are your thoughts on an electric charging infrastructure of cars? Thank you, Mayoral.
Thank you, Mayoral. I appreciate that question. I'm all supportive of that. And I'm going to tell you, it's a mindset for us. And I think that we just, again, like affordable housing and making sure that people understand why that's necessary. We all have to have those conversations around green energy as well. I had a hybrid vehicle prior to this one. It's one of the first hybrid vehicles. So I'm going to be honest with you, it wasn't the best. But I was like, I'm going to go green and I'm buying this. And I think automakers have done a better job. But we've got a few electric charging stations around the city, but I'll tell you, very rarely have I seen them hooked up because people aren't buying them. But I think, so I think you have to build the infrastructure and then also, but build it to the needs. I think we also need to be talking about, in addition to that infrastructure, electric cars, we need to be building an ecosystem that allows people to eat more natural. I mean, Trey, I always admire the way you eat, and I'm getting there. I'm not all the way there yet, but I'm getting there. My 15-year-old gets me about eating meat, and I do still eat some seafood, but I'm getting there.
It's okay, girl.
Yeah, so I think all that's part of it. So, Mayoral, what I'd say is that it's part of the conversation that we need to have, so that those electric vehicles, people want to and understand why they are important to the overall picture of going green.
Yeah, thank you, Mayoral, for your question. Want to remind everybody to post and share this information out. Even if you just joined us, please watch the replay so that you can hear from Tameika Issac Devine herself. She is running for mayor of City of Columbia. Her website is divineformayor.com. As you can see, it's right here on the screen. You can go to the website, donate, you can volunteer and get more information. And then all of her information is at the bottom. In closing, Tameika, anything you want to share?
No, I just want to thank people. Devine Listens, thank you, Trey, for doing this. Absolutely. You can also sign up to host your own private Devine Listen session. You can do that on the website. And I just encourage people to learn more about my campaign. If you want to volunteer or donate, please do donate. And I did want to just say briefly, don't say, oh, wow, she raised $115,000. She doesn't need my money. That is not true. This is going to be an expensive campaign. Every single dollar counts. $10, $15, $20 goes a long way. And thank you so much for your support.
Johnny Ray Noble says you will be an awesome mayor. Thank you, Johnny Ray, for your for watching. And again, I want to remind everyone to go ahead and post and share this information out so we can get the message to the masses. Tameika Issac Devine, City Councilwoman for Columbia, South Carolina, current candidate for mayor. Thank you again so much for taking time to join us this afternoon. I appreciate you, girl.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you. So listen, if you have a story or initiative that could help someone cope with COVID, please inbox me at the Tailor Made Production page on Facebook. We would love to talk to you about spotlighting you. If you have a product or service that could help someone cope with COVID, please email copingwithtreitailor@gmail.com. We would love for you to be a proud sponsor of Coping with COVID, just like our other sponsors, SCDHEC, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, In It Together, SC, and the Diabetes Advisory Council of South Carolina, the Comet Bus Systems, Palmetto Media Connections, also Agape Counseling and Training Center, and Computers Unique Dutch Square Mall. Coming up tomorrow, we've been talking about the Affordable Care Act and how it has extended the deadline. Well, Rosalind Goodwin with the South Carolina Hospital Association is going to join us. She's going to talk about the ACA extension and whether you have insurance or not, how it could positively affect you. Plus, Conley Ann Ragley, Director of Communications and External Affairs at DSS, joins us. There's pandemic aid for youth in foster care. She's going to tell us about that also. That's coming up tomorrow on Coping with COVID. Evelyn Hay promises she enjoys this. Mitchell Peace Joy Jen wants to know, when is the mayoral election? I'm going to bring Tameika back up. Isn't it in November, Tameika?
November. It's November 2nd. Yes.
Okay. November 2nd. There you go. Mitchell Peace Joy Jen. Cynthia Watson says, thanks, Trey and Tameika, for always keeping our community informed. Thank you, Cynthia. As usual, I usually leave you with a reading from Jesus Calling. Are you going to read something, Tameika, or you want me to read it?
I want you to read it. I love Jesus Calling. You and I've swapped devotionals, but I tell you, I couldn't get through my day without my devotion.
Wow, I know that's right. And you actually were the one that hit me to 100 Days of Believing Bigger. And I started sharing it on the show, but it's a personal thing for me. So I kind of go back and forth. So I'll share this. April 29th, today, Jesus says, "Let me teach you thankfulness. Begin by acknowledging that everything, all of your possessions and all that you are belong to me. The dawning of each day is a gift from me," Jesus says, "not to be taken for granted. The earth is vibrantly alive with my blessings, giving vivid testimony to my presence. If you slow down your pace of life, you can find me anywhere and everywhere. The secret of being thankful is learning to see everything from my perspective. My world is your classroom. My world is a lamp to your feet and a light for your path." That's a good one today from Jesus Calling. That's your Jesus Calling for today. Right before I came on the air, I was listening to Joyce Myers, and she was saying just that we need to take every experience, and instead of saying, "Oh God, why did you give me this?" say, "God, what do you want me to learn from this experience? Good, bad, right, or wrong." So anyway, thank you, Tameika, so much once again for joining us. Thank you guys again so much for joining us. And listen, Rosalind Goodwin is saying hi to Evelyn Hank-Provis. Thank you, ladies, so much. Mitchell Peace Georgian says she's pledging her support to you, Tameika. She says it's wonderful to hear your vision for our community. She says she's praying for you and your campaign. She says, God bless. All right. All right. Thank you guys so much. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Rosalind's in the show, but she'll be on the show tomorrow. Until the next time, I wish you peace and abundant blessings. Take care. Stay well. Get your vaccine. Do your research, and you still got to wear your mask. I don't care what your governor says. Over your nose and under your chin. See you guys tomorrow.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor. Updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. Brought to you by SCDHEC. Visit scdhec.gov for testing and vaccination sites. SCDHEC. Healthy people, healthy communities. In it together, SC and the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council presenting Wellness Wednesday every week on Coping with COVID. The City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Agape Counseling and Training Services. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, visit Agape Counseling and Training Services at agapects.com. The Comet Bus System, offering free rides to get your COVID vaccine. Don't miss your shot. Visit catchthecomet.gov. Javis Financial Services, with over 20 years of experience. Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall. Honest, professional, reliable computer sales and service. Palmetto Media Connections, connecting media and communities together. Coping with COVID from SCDHEC. In it together, SC. The South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council. The City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities. Agape Counseling and Training Services. The Comet Bus System. Javis Financial Services. Computers Unique and Palmetto Media Connections.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.